Hello, good morning. My name is Odonga. I'm a political philosopher and I wanted to analyze Gaddafi Mosque. Gaddafi Mosque. There is a huge public debate going on whether the president was right or wrong. The debates are twofold. One, did the president act in good faith to save the mosque from being auctioned? But the other side of the debate is the action of President Museveni in contravention of the principle of separation of power. This is what I want to philosophize a little bit. One, I think the actions of the president was in good faith and it was timely because the mosque is one of the national treasures protected by the National Museums and Monuments Act of 2003. So it would be absurd and it would cause international outroar to see a national mosque being sold for whatever reasons. So to that extent, I personally think the president was right. And this is not the first time the president is intervened. The government intervened when the Catholic Church at Endeavour was being destroyed. There was government intervention. So to that extent, pros and thumbs up. But to the other extent, many analysts, many lawyers, and many philosophers are arguing that this is an abuse of the principle of separation of powers. This is not the first time separation of power has been abused in this country. We have the Black Mamba storming court, you remember ways back. We have recently the Prime Minister went to court and stopped an execution against an old woman until the Chief Justice, thanks Chief Justice Owinton, warned the Prime Minister not to interfere with the court. Now we have this situation where the President has written a letter. Now the arguments on this other side of saying the President was wrong are threefold. One, the highest appellate court in the country, the highest appellate court in Uganda is the Supreme Court. So by the president writing this letter, it means he has positioned himself. So the question would be, the highest appellate court in the land of Uganda is the Supreme Court. So has the president positioned himself as the highest appellate court? You can choose to answer that question the way you want. But the answer that would obviously remain that the person that has a national constituency, that has a mandate given to people directly through universal adult suffrage vote, is the president. So he's the first citizen and he has to prevail in matters that he feels is important for the country. The second question is the religious institution, the churches and the mosque, because the president's directive has a serious implication. Financial institutions would be very reluctant to give money to religious institutions because when they fail to pay, you cannot execute against them. You cannot attach their properties. This is the quagmire we are entering to. So much as today we are celebrating the mosque, the church should not be sold, we will reach a stretch where financial institutions will be very reluctant to deal with these institutions because you cannot touch them. We need to start thinking about that, much as we are here praising the president. Thirdly, how many religious institutions are there? Thousands. Next time someone's shrine is for execution for a debt, they run to powers that be. So it means it is putting religious institutions in a class where they cannot be touched. The argument can go on. But still, from a historical perspective, when we were growing up, when there were overthrow of governments, people would run and take refuge and seek solace in religious institutions. The fighters would fight, we would stay in churches, we would stay in mosques. So something has happened about trust of religious institutions, about trust of religious leaders, where you use collaterals of religious institutions, pick monies and use it for purposes not meant for. So now this one, the issue of trust of our religious leaders, comes into debate. Religious institutions, most of them are regulated by the Trustees in Corporation Act. They hold properties in trust for the faithfuls. So maybe it's about time that Parliament has to look into those laws. We have to put some severe sanctions on religious leaders that abuse the trust that is given to them by the people. We even have situations of bishops pocketing church collections. So all these issues have to be handled concurrently. But personally, as we talk, I really want to thank the president for intervening in this matter. It has abused the principles of law, but at the same time, as the English say, a stitch in time saves nine. Merry Christmas, President Museveni.